So I moved to Nicaragua 2 years ago, and that's the number one question we get. And I live here with my wife and my baby. Well, it gets painted out there that it's like really unsafe country. You've been to Mexico, you've been to Peru, you've been to all these countries. How does the safety here compare to those countries? I've crossed the borders, both borders, using my truck. I've driven through borders, Matagalpa, Jinotega, Estelí, this whole border with Honduras.
I've spent the past year and a half driving my motorcycle through Latin America, living in each country for a minimum of 6 weeks. This has been one of the most difficult projects I've ever embarked upon, and I really hope you enjoy all this content coming at you now. Welcome back to Generic Expats. I am here in the car. We are driving back to Ocotal. This is in northern Nicaragua. And we have had a question come up on both of our channels. This is my friend Elton, right?
Oh,
Elton, you have a channel here?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel about life in Nicaragua, and today we're with Eric, exploring North Nicaragua.
And the main question we're going to answer today is it safe to live and travel in Nicaragua? That seems to be a very common question, a very important thing to answer so people can actually get an idea of what it actually is. So can you give us a little beginning idea? Is it safe to live here? You live here, I don't live here. So.
Yeah, so I moved to Nicaragua 2 years ago, and that's the number one question we get. And so I think based off our experience with this year that I've lived and the years that I've lived, it's been really a safe country for us. Like, I haven't had any issues. I live here with my wife and my baby, and it's been zero troubles really. But what gets painted out there that it's like really unsafe country, I think that you kind of need to come out and just find out for yourself that it's not that way, and you really feel safe out here.
It's so safe that you can actually drive a massive white truck and make a YouTube video at the same time, and everything's gonna go fine. So besides living here, since I've only been here for 1 month, it's not like a great example, but I've felt it super safe. I mean, I've been pulled over by police, but they seem to be very friendly. They're not trying to extort me like they did in Mexico. And so yeah, that leads me to the travel idea. Is it safe to travel in Nicaragua? Could you start us off with that?
Yeah, dude, I've freaking been everywhere in Nicaragua, and I drive, like Eric mentioned, and we've just been cruising. I've never had any theft, any problems with the police. I mean, it's just been safe to explore and grind out here. Actually, let me ask you, Eric, you've been to Mexico, you've been to Peru, you've been to all these countries. How does the safety here compare to those countries?
I find this country super safe. I haven't had any issues. I do feel that Mexico is one of the more dangerous countries in the Latin America region, and like it's closer to the United States. However, Nicaragua, I mean, it's kind of an undiscovered place, and for that reason, I think maybe the tourism isn't as big due to maybe the type of government and politics that they have here. It's actually incredibly safe. I felt safer in Vietnam when I lived there, because I lived in Vietnam, and there's some similarities between Vietnam and Nicaragua, to be honest, and it shares some similar like political systems and some similar ideology. So I was thinking about Vietnam when I first came here. So yeah, and traveling here, like when I go between the cities that I'm visiting to make my content, to make my videos with you, for example, I drove up to Ocotal. It's basically a 4-hour drive, super safe. People here actually drive insanely slow.
Yeah.
So actually the safety measure is people drive too slow almost, and that does make the driving aspect difficult. But I mean, many people aren't going to be driving. They'll be taking excursions and have your own private driver. It's incredibly affordable to have that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You can afford that, or you can travel by public transportation, but it's really slow, like you said.
It's insanely slow. I love driving the streets here. So going back to driving, and if you're traveling by motorcycle, it's amazing. These streets are amazing. Let's take a look at the streets here. This is a typical road in Nicaragua. It's fantastic, okay? There's very few massive holes in the roads like you see in Honduras and Mexico. I mean, Mexico, they have a reason for it. It's an insanely huge country, and you can't make every road amazing. And Honduras is actually smaller, but in some places like, for example, Progreso, going from Copan Ruinas to San Pedro Sula, those are some of the worst roads I've ever seen. So anyways, traveling without your own transportation, insanely safe. Even with your own truck or motorcycle incredibly safe. What places have you been to here in Nicaragua that surprised you in terms of safety?
Yeah, so I've pretty much done all on north, like Matagalpa, Jinotega, Estelí, this whole border with Honduras. I've done down south, Granada, San Juan del Sur. I've crossed the borders, both borders, using my truck. I've driven through borders, and it's been perfectly fine. Actually, incredible road trip. Come out and road trip this country, you'll love it. There's many places to camp, or actually just stay at these incredible places next to the beach.
You've done some travel by bicycle, right? We've talked about this in some other videos that you biked all the way down from San Francisco. Was it dangerous riding your bicycle around here?
That's a good point. Forgot about that. Yeah. So, yeah, good experience. I rode my bike for 5 months through Latin America here, all the way to Nicaragua, and I've never felt unsafe. Actually, it was the opposite. I felt safe because the people opened their doors. They were generous. They were curious about my road trip on this bicycle that I was doing. So, felt amazing. I didn't feel unsafe throughout 5 months on the road. So.
Are there any last ideas you want to give to people about traveling and living in Nicaragua? I mean, you've been here longer term. I've only spent 1 month here, and like I said, I'll reiterate, I find it very safe, very comfortable. People are friendly. Yeah, if you want to travel around the country, I've gone to Ometepe Island. I drove there by day and drove back by night, which driving at night I wouldn't recommend, but I had to, and that in a certain situation. I've driven to Leon back and forth. I've driven to Managua many times for motorcycle maintenance issues and whatnot. I've driven up here now to the north, which was the first time I've come here. I drove up to this area, and literally each city I'll stop in, I'll walk around the downtown plaza. People will say, hey, how's it going? What are you doing? Why are you here? Like Estelí. On the way here, I stopped, just stretched, and some people, oh my God, cool, you're in Estelí. Oh, it's a Sunday, it's a family day, and we're just hanging out. What are you doing? Like, people are so friendly here.
I'm going to tell you.
And especially if you speak a little bit of Spanish, they're really happy to converse with you. And to exchange experiences here. So any last minute things you want to mention before we stop?
Tip-wise, if you're planning to come to Nicaragua, for 2 weeks, try to squeeze in one more week and make it 3. Let me tell you, things here in Nicaragua move slow, and people are just slower pace of life, and you need more to explore. I mean, right, Eric? You could attest to that.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful country to explore.
So one last thing I wanted to point out, and this is something that many people on Facebook groups and many people that actually talk about this region because they live in it and they have friends and family that live in it. Actually, the neighboring country, Costa Rica, that is about 2 or 3 times more expensive than here, is starting to be considered even more dangerous and way more dangerous than here in Nicaragua. So many people are even leaving. They're flooding out of Costa Rica coming here. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's everyone that I spoke to that are coming from Costa Rica. That's what I've been told. So it's wild to think of.
So when you think of Costa Rica and you hear, like, maybe in the past it was this amazing, super chill, super safe place, and I'm sure it still is reasonably safe, it is starting to be less compared to Nicaragua, which people are pretty shocked to hear.
Yeah, that's why I say don't only follow what you see in the news. Go out and explore yourself and come look at these countries. Contact Eric, he'll fill you in about Nicaragua. He has some good value on that. I mean, we just had a great experience.
So if you want to follow Elton right here, what is your YouTube channel?
Immense Coffee Movement, and you can follow my life building a coffee farm in Nicaragua and living out here.
All right, sorry, I'm trying to pop my ears because we are driving down a mountain here and we are going down some heavy elevation as we're driving. All right, thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope you've seen some value in the content we're producing, and I hope you're ready to live in and travel in Nicaragua. Hasta la próxima.
See you later, amigos.